King Charles has officially stepped down. Not retired. Not taken a leave of absence. Stepped down. Fully. Publicly. In a move that has left the entire British establishment reeling, and the world scrambling for answers. And now, Princess Anne and Prince William have jointly announced a new coronation date. This is not a rumor. This is not speculation from anonymous palace sources. This is a story that is breaking right now. And by the time you finish watching this video, the monarchy as we know it may already be irrevocably changed. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear changes everything. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because the royal family is in freefall, and we cover every single development the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. Today's story is the biggest since the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Possibly bigger. Let's go back to the beginning of this extraordinary week. For months, the whispers have grown louder. Charles's health, the strain of the crown, the quiet conversations behind closed doors at Clarence's house in Kensington Palace. But no one, not even the most seasoned royal watchers, expected what happened on Monday morning. At 9:17 a.m., a formal statement was released from Buckingham Palace. Not the usual carefully worded press release. This one was stark, direct, historic. His Majesty King Charles III has today informed the Prime Minister of his intention to abdicate the throne with immediate effect. Immediate effect. No prolonged transition. No carefully staged farewell tour. Immediate. The statement continued that the king had reached this decision after careful reflection on the duties of the crown and the best interests of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. That language is deliberate, and it is devastating. Within minutes, the internet exploded. Social media went into meltdown. News channels interrupted regular programming. And inside the palace walls, sources say the atmosphere was one of controlled chaos. But the real shock came 2 hours later. A second statement, this time jointly issued by Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, and the Prince of Wales. They did not merely acknowledge the abdication. They announced a new coronation date. June 14th. Not next year. This year. Less than 10 months from the moment Charles stepped aside. Think about that for a second. The last coronation took years of planning. The one for Charles himself was meticulously prepared. Yet Anne and William have moved with a speed that can only mean one thing. This was not a sudden decision. This was prepared. The joint statement read, in part, in the interest of continuity, stability, and the future of the monarchy, we confirm that the coronation of the next sovereign will take place on the 14th of June. Further details will be released in due course. The nation and the Commonwealth can be assured that the work of the crown continues without interruption. Notice what is missing. They did not name the next sovereign. They did not say the coronation of King William. They said the next sovereign. That single phrase has royal watchers across the world in a frenzy. Why leave it open? Why not simply confirm William? Because, according to multiple sources close to both households, something far more complicated is unfolding. Princess Anne has not simply been a supporting player in this drama. She has been central, for decades, and has been the most hard-working, least glamorous, and most privately influential member of the royal family. She never sought the spotlight. She never chased popularity. And yet, when the institution has needed someone to speak hard truths, and has been the one willing to do it. Sources claim that in the weeks leading up to Charles's decision, and held a series of private meetings, some with the king himself, some with William, and at least one with the Prime Minister. The content of those meetings remains tightly guarded, but the outcome is now public. Charles is gone from the throne. A coronation is set for June, and the two people standing at the center of the announcement are Anne and William. Let that sink in. This is not the orderly succession the public was promised. This is not the smooth handover from father to son that every constitutional textbook predicted. Something has shifted. Something fundamental. Why would Charles step down so abruptly? The official line is health and duty. But those closest to the situation say the real reasons run deeper. Charles has long understood the weight of public opinion. He watched his mother's final years. He watched the damage done by the scandals of recent years. He watched the polling numbers that showed younger generations increasingly indifferent or even hostile to the monarchy itself. According to one senior courtier who spoke on condition of anonymity, Charles reached a private conclusion earlier this year. The crown needed a reset more dramatic than anything a traditional succession could provide. Stepping down while still alive, while still capable of influencing the transition, gave him a degree of control he would never have in death. But control is a relative term, because once the abdication was signed, the initiative passed to the next generation, and to the one member of the family who has always operated outside the usual hierarchy of sons and heirs, Princess Anne. William, of course, remains the heir apparent under the existing line of succession. Nothing in the abdication changes the legal order. The throne should pass to him automatically. Yet the joint announcement, the shared language, the deliberate refusal to name the next sovereign, all of it suggests that the path forward is being negotiated in real time. Some are already asking the unthinkable question: is there a scenario in which an herself plays a more formal role than anyone expected? The short answer, constitutionally, is almost certainly no. The rules of succession are clear, and is not in the direct line for the throne. William is. But monarchy has never been only about rules. It has always been about power, perception, and the quiet agreements made in private rooms. And right now, those private rooms are very busy. In the hours after the dual statements, the reaction from the rest of the family was telling. Prince Harry, from California, issued a carefully worded message of support for his father and for the institution. Noticeably absent was any reference to William or to the coronation date. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has not been seen in public since the announcement. Kensington Palace has said only that she is supporting her husband during this period of transition. And the Queen, Camilla? Sources say she was informed of the final decision only shortly before the public statement. Her future role remains completely unclear. This is a kind of rupture that does not heal quietly. What happens next will define the monarchy for decades. Will William be crowned on June 14th as expected? Or is a joint statement a signal that a different arrangement, a period of shared authority, a redefined role for or even a temporary solution, is being explored? We do not yet know. What we do know is this: the old order has ended. Charles has stepped down. Anne and William have set a date, and the clock is now ticking toward June 14th. In the next part of this video, we will dig deeper into the private meetings that led to this moment, the constitutional questions no one in the establishment wants to answer publicly, and the growing signs that the relationship between Anne and William is far more strategic and far more powerful than the public has ever been allowed to see. But before we go further, I need to ask you something. Do you believe Charles stepped down purely for health reasons? Or do you think something larger is at play? The private meetings that led to this moment did not happen in the open. They took place in the quiet rooms that the public never sees. According to multiple sources with direct knowledge of the discussions, the first serious conversation between Charles and Anne occurred nearly 3 months ago at Highgrove. It was not a formal audience. It was a brother and sister talking late into the evening. Charles, sources say, was exhausted, not only physically, but institutionally. He spoke of the relentless scrutiny, the polling that showed soft support among the under 40s, and the fear that the crown were becoming a symbol of the past rather than a living institution. And listened. Then she spoke with a bluntness for which she is famous. She told him that half measures would no longer work. A slow decline, a gradual withdrawal, a carefully managed stepping back would only prolong the uncertainty and damage public confidence further. If he believed the monarchy needed a decisive reset, then the only clean option was to step down while he still held the initiative. That conversation, we are told, was a beginning. In the weeks that followed, and met privately with William on at least 4 occasions. Some of those meetings took place at Kensington Palace. One occurred at Anne's home, Gatcombe Park. The tone, according to those briefed afterward, was not confrontational. It was strategic. William has always been protective of the institution and of his own family's future. He is also what's told the crown took on his grandmother and, more recently, on his father. Sources close to him say he did not push for abdication. But once Charles made clear that his mind was set, William moved quickly to shape what came next. The decision to issue a joint statement with, and was deliberate. It signaled continuity, experience, and a united front at the highest level of the family. It also bought time. By refusing to name the next sovereign in that first announcement, they created space, constitutional, political, and public, to manage the transition on their own terms. That space is now the subject of intense speculation inside and outside the palace. Constitutionally, the position is clear. Upon Charles's abdication, the throne passes automatically to William. There is no vacancy. There is no interregnum. The law does not require a coronation for the new monarch to reign. The coronation is a ceremony of recognition, not of creation. William is already, in legal terms, king the moment the abdication takes effect. Yet the joint statement's careful language, the next sovereign, has fueled every theory imaginable. Some believe it is simply caution, a desire not to appear to rush the public or the Commonwealth before the formalities are complete. Others see something more calculated. A small but growing number of voices inside royal circles suggest that Anne and William are exploring whether a redefined public role for the Princess Royal could help stabilize the early years of the new reign. Not as queen, not as regent, but as a senior counselor with an unusually visible and formalized position, something closer to a modern equivalent of the old concept of a council of state, but elevated and permanent. No official confirmation of any such plan exists. Palace spokespeople have refused to be drawn. But the fact that the question is even being asked tells you how unusual this moment has become. The reaction from the rest of the family has been carefully managed, yet the cracks are visible. Queen Camilla has remained almost entirely silent. A short statement of support for Charles was released through her office, but she has made no public appearance and has not commented on the coronation date. Sources say the speed of events left her with little time to adjust. Her future title, residence, and public role are now open questions that no one in the household is eager to answer on the record. Prince Harry's response from California was measured and brief. He expressed love for his father and respect for the institution. He did not mention William by name. He did not reference the June date. In the language of royal statements, omissions often speak louder than words. Catherine has stayed out of sight. Kensington Palace continues to say she is supporting her husband. Those close to her insist she is fully involved in the private planning, but the absence of any visual reassurance has only added to the sense of unsettled ground. Meanwhile, the political world is scrambling to catch up. The Prime Minister was informed before the public announcement, as protocol demands. Whitehall has moved into contingency mode. Questions about the Accession Council, the proclamations across the Commonwealth, and the practical arrangements for a coronation in less than a year are being worked through at speed. June 14th is not an arbitrary choice. It falls in a window that allows for preparation without colliding with major state or sporting events, and it gives a new reign a clear summer marker. Public reaction has been a mixture of shock, sadness, and, in some quarters, cautious hope. Social media has split along predictable lines. Some see Charles's decision as an act of selfless duty. Others view it as confirmation that the institution is in deeper trouble than admitted. A significant number of younger voices online have responded with indifference or open Republican sentiment. The palace is acutely aware of all three currents. What remains most striking is a partnership now on display between Anne and William. For years they operated in parallel rather than in close alliance. Anne's world was duty, horses, and relentless public service. William's was a modern monarchy project, mental health, the environment, the careful curation of a young family's image. The crisis of the past months appears to have drawn them into a working relationship that neither fully anticipated. Those who have seen them together in recent weeks describe a quiet intensity, and brings institutional memory and an almost ruthless clarity about what the crown can and cannot afford. William brings a long-term vision and the public legitimacy of the next generation. Together they are attempting to project steadiness at a moment when steadiness is a rarest commodity. Whether that partnership holds through the coming months will determine much of what follows. June 14th is now fixed in the public mind. The machinery of a coronation is beginning to turn. Invitations, security, broadcast rights, the order of service, all of it must be decided under compressed timelines and under the glare of global attention. And still the central question hangs in the air. Who exactly will sit in the coronation chair? The law says William. The joint statement left the name unspoken. The private conversations that produced this extraordinary week remain largely sealed. In the days ahead we will learn more. New details will surface. Fresh statements will be issued. The carefully controlled narrative will face the test of public scrutiny and political reality. This is not the end of the story. It is the opening chapter of a new and uncertain era for the British monarchy. Charles has stepped down. Anne and William have set the date. The nation is watching, and the clock is ticking. If you found this coverage valuable, subscribe and turn on notifications. We will be following every development as it breaks. Drop your thoughts below. Do you believe this joint announcement signals a genuine partnership for the future, or is something more complicated still unfolding behind the palace walls? The full picture is still coming into focus. We will be here when the next piece falls into place.